This movie is fantastic across the board, from the inspired direction to the absolute gorgeous cinematography. The music in this movie is a character all on its own. It's incredible what they do with music throughout this entire film, how it plays a huge role in the narrative itself. Let's go ahead and move on to my best movies of 2025 so far. So I have seen a lot of movies, a lot of movie films. Some good, some bad. We're not talking about the bad ones today, all right? I want to concentrate on the good ones. Let's go ahead and be positive. Now, at the top, the first one that I want to start with, chat, at number 10 is a little action film called Novocaine. Of course, Novocaine, starring Jack Quaid, Amber Midthunder, got Ray Nicholson, Jack Nicholson's crazy-looking son, right? A couple other recognizable people. You got the CEO of Sex, Jacob Batalon, Ned from the Spider-Man movies. I really enjoyed this film. Essentially, the plot follows Quaid's character, Nathan Kane, who's this bank employee with the inability to feel pain. If he fucking sticks his hand in a pot of hot coffee, he feels nothing. If he needs to go to the bathroom, if he's got a big old bladder filled of piss, if he's got a big old colon filled of shit, he can't feel that stuff. The movie's actually interesting in how it explores that idea of not being able to feel pain at all. I mean, gets very, very specific with it. But of course, the movie very much indulges in a lot of action sensibilities. You got a lot of, crazy, bloody, visceral scenes, kind of like cartoonish ultra violence as Jack Quaid's character essentially goes out to rescue his coworker, which he's developed feelings for, played by Midthunder, after essentially she's taken hostage. But you get some great moments, shattering bones, hands going in fryers filled with grease and oil, brutal booby trap sequences where our hero is getting punctured and shot and skewered, and him just going, what am I going to do? I'm a big Jack Quaid fan. I've liked a lot of his projects, whether it be in The Boys, of course, or even some of his voice work and things like Superman. I think he's a great Clark Kent and a great Superman, obviously. And here he pulls off the action hero thing, I think, really well. He just offers a very relatable kind of everyman charm that keeps you invested amid all the crazy chaos. I think you have some of the supporting casts that they complement him pretty well, like Amber Midthunder and him. They have really nice chemistry, and Jacob Batalon is fun, and Ray Nicholson, he's a bit of a charming villain. If anything, I wish the supporting characters got a little more depth, a little more to do. Since we're solely kind of most of the time focused on Jack Quaid's character, but I thought it was a really fun, action romp. I enjoyed the comedy. I enjoyed the action scenes. I think it's worth seeing. That's why I have it at number 10 in my best movies of 2025. But at number 9, I have Mickey 17. This is a science fiction black comedy, written, produced, directed by, I'm sure he also did the craft services as well. But this film is created by Bong Joon-ho, who was coming off of one of my favorite films of the previous decade, Parasite. Absolutely love that movie. And this film is an adaptation of a novel that came out not too long ago called Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. And essentially, the film follows this character, Mickey, played by Robert Pattinson, who kind of lives in a dystopian, science fiction future. Him and his friend, played by Stephen Yeun, they get into some trouble with some gangsters, and essentially, we got to leave the planet because if they get a hold of us, we're going to be chopped up. We're going to be murdered, right? And so he signs up for this expedition, the far-off year of 2054. Essentially joins a space colony mission as an expendable. And as an expendable, he is a disposable worker who is essentially cloned every time he dies. And Pattinson in the movie, he plays both Mickey 17, and that's the number we eventually go up to, and various other Mickeys. And again, I'm a huge Robert Pattinson fan. I think he's a tremendous actor. I think he's one of the best working actors today, whether, he does a sci-fi picture like this, or whether he plays Batman or a Lovecraftian supernatural drama and something like, the Lighthouse. The guy just has a lot of, you never know what you're going to get with him. And he does a really good job here. Essentially, like, his Mickey character is very, like, it's kind of like a cross between Steve Buscemi and Joe Pesci, a little bit of a Looney Tunes character in there. I thought was very funny, but then he plays other versions of Mickey, and like Mickey 18, for instance, which they both, even though if you have multiples like in this world, and they both have to die because those are the rules or something, who is a little more aggressive, he's a little more hardened. I think is a really fun performance. And, Bond, he always has done like a great job of infusing a lot of comedy and satire into his, political critiques. And I think that's on full display here in the film. He skewers things like capitalism, authoritarianism, corporate exploitation of workers. And we definitely see that through the Mickey 17 character, through Robert Pattinson's performance. And, it's really entertaining. You do get some fun supporting characters in Naomi Ackie, who really shines as Nasha, who is essentially Mickey's girlfriend, his paramour, if you will. Really like that. If anything, I wish they did more of some of the other supporting characters. Some of them felt a little underwritten. Like, there's some fun ones, like Mark Ruffalo. He clearly plays like a Trump allegory, if you will, and he's fun. But I do wish the rest of the cast got a little more to do, especially like someone like a Stephen Yeun, who is also a very talented working actor, and he does a good job. It's just like a little more depth. But overall, Mickey 17's got a lot going for it. I think it's a really fun film, and I do recommend it if you are already a fan of Bong Joon-ho's works, if you're already a fan of Robert Pattinson, just dark sci-fi comedy in general. But at number 8, Chad, speaking of sci-fi, I have Predator: Killer of Killers. This was a really big surprise for me. This is a sci-fi horror action anthology film directed by Dan Trachtenberg and co-directed by Joshua Wasson. And this is, I guess, the 6th standalone, but also the 8th installment overall in the Predator franchise. A franchise that has had its ups and downs over the years. Like, I love the original Predator. It's one of my favorite 80s sci-fi action movies of all time. It's great. One of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. And then, of course, you had Predator 2, obviously, which not nearly as good, but still fun. Predator's thing is underrated. And then, of course, you have the Alien vs. Predator movies. Alien vs. Predator it's dumb fun. It's a big WWE match to me. Is it good? No, but it's not. It could have been worse. And we got worse of AVP Requiem. That movie is dog shit. It's the worst of either franchise, in my opinion. But then I would say, like, truly the only bad standalone Predator movie is The Predator, where you had it where Shane Black, who was involved, in the write-ups and punch-ups, the original Predator, and, has a reputation of making a lot of, great action movies, whether it be something like a Lethal Weapon or a Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. The man has talent. Like, he's a natural choice for the Predator franchise, and it did not work out. It was a complete mess, changing the lore where instead of the Predators, the Yautja having a culture of hunting the most dangerous game, the most dangerous prey, instead, like, no, they're not doing that because it's part of their culture or, their hierarchy or their class or anything like that. It's like, no, they're hunting various races and people because they want to absorb all the autism. They want to take all their autism and inject themselves with the autism to become super autistic predators, chat. It was during that era when autism was a superpower, essentially. And at that point, it's like, the Predator franchise is not nice. But Dan Trachtenberg came in there with a fresh idea with Prey, was very successful, really enjoyed that movie, and it continues on here where we essentially follow, like, 3 different stories, different time periods in human history, and these specific characters interacting with the Predator. Like, the first one, it takes place in Scandinavia, 1841. It's this Viking story where you follow this woman, this chieftain, Ursa, who is leading her clan expedition to destroy this rival tribe. She encounters a predator. The other story takes place in the early 1600s, and we follow these 2 brothers of Kenji and Kiyoshi, and then the sons of the samurai warlord, who then pits them against each other. One brother goes into exile, one becomes like the heir apparent. But the brother Kenji comes back wanting to reclaim his honor, reclaim the title, but of course him and his brother encounter a predator, and that was really cool. And then in 1942, during World War II, we followed this pilot named John J. Torres, and he has to fight against a predator in the skies, with his plane. The Predator's using the classic ship that we've seen, and eventually all these stories kind of culminate together in a really fun way. But I love the action in this. Thought it was great. All the action choreography, very bloody, very gory. able to do things with the Predator we haven't really seen before, like even in live action. The animation is beautiful, kind of that 2.5D, something similar to Arcane, which I really enjoyed. If you like the animation style, that's not. And it also does a great job of expanding the Predator lore, in a positive way, adding more to it, and sets up some interesting things for the future, many possibilities. But yeah, this was a nice surprise for me, and I think the Predator franchise is in really good hands with Dan Trachtenberg and his collaborators right now. That's why it's my number 8. And at number 7, Chad, this was a big surprise for me this year. One of the biggest surprises, I think, for a lot of people. At number 7, I have Final Destination Bloodlines, Chad. Directed by Zach Lebowski, who is known for directing films like the Disney Channel live action adaptation of Kim Possible, stuff like that. And I have a weird, I don't know, I guess history with the Final Destination franchise. I remember only seeing like the first 2 films years ago, like around the time they came out, or like on DVD, VOD. And I remember thinking that they were fine. They were okay. I guess again, very much borrowing from the sensibilities of the Scream franchise, which was dominating, the horror genre and its many subgenres during that time, throughout the late 90s into the early 2000s. But I guess the one thing that's always held me at bay from really loving the Final Destination franchise it's just like death is the enemy. Like, how can you fight death? And the answer is you really can't, And even listen, the first one's fun, and the second one's certainly fun. They have their issues, they have their flaws. I've never seen the third one or the fourth one. I recently saw the fifth one. Not very good, but still a fun watch, But I think, the franchise definitely started to peter out. The deaths weren't as imaginative, obviously, but Death took some time off and came back for this movie in 2025 because the 6th installment of the franchise, I think it's the best one. I really do, at least what I've seen so far. It's just a really fun movie where essentially you follow this young woman played by Caitlin Santajuana, who I've never seen. I think this might be her first big role in a movie. Great actors. Really liked her. She brought a lot to this, a lot of personality. Gorgeous looking too. And she's like this college student who's essentially having these visions, as they all do in the franchise, of a previous premonition, essentially, that averted a deadly structural failure in the 1960s that her grandmother had, and where she was able to essentially save all these people, but death is like, those people were mine, and has been coming for her and all these people that survived ever since. And I don't know, I think what made this movie so good, at least to me, is they injected a lot of humor into it. It's very funny, and they actually spent enough time to. Again, I'm not going to say these characters are really thoroughly developed, but they made you like these characters, where you didn't want to see them die, but die they do in horrific, graphic ways. Like, Death Came Back was very creative, even using things like a penny. Really imaginative, really, really cool sequences to, again, using an x-ray machine and seeing how horrible that can be, and tricking you. It's like, oh, is this going to be a death? A lot of great tension was built up throughout this movie. I mean, I have a criticism. I think the ending is kind of like, well, I guess they all have to end that way, but I kind of didn't want it to end that way, right? Because I like a lot of these characters. But yeah, this was like a really big surprise for me this year. Who would have thought that a Final Destination film, the 6th entry, and Final Destination would be not only the best, I would argue the best entry in the entire series, but also one of the best movies of the year so far. Not just one of the best horror films of the year, but one of the best movies overall. Also, what I really appreciate about this film is that it gives a wonderful send-off to Tony Todd, who has appeared in several of these films over the years, the first one, the second one, and then the 5th one. Tony Todd, who, of course, passed away, and legendary, actor, genre actor, appearing in things like Candyman, probably his most recognizable role. But even here, I loved what they gave for him to do. His role in this was very heartfelt, and apparently his last lines he came up with on the spot. He improvised, essentially saying goodbye, not only to this franchise, but to everyone that watched him all these years. I thought it was very, very sweet and handled incredibly well. So big props to the filmmakers for doing something like that. And at number 6, chat, this again was another big surprise. I have K-pop Demon Hunters. Now, When you guys first asked me to react to this trailer, when I first read the title, K-Pop Demon Hunters, I went, huh! I scoffed. I harumphed at that title. K-Pop Demon Hunters, what a stupid name that is. I'm not going to watch this, but I watched the trailer and I was instantly charmed by it. I loved the animation. I loved the way the animation was looking, like the music, the color palette, the rich, blues and purples, the pinks. It was like, wow, there's a lot here. I'm like, okay. I've seen this movie 3 times now. It was released to Netflix. It's by Sony Animation, which has been kind of going on a tear these last few years, from the same team, from the same people that gave us things like Into the Spider-Verse and Mitchell vs. the Machines, some of the best animated films the last few years. And the film essentially follows a fictional K-pop girl group named Huntrix, who lead double lives as demon hunters. And they face off against essentially a rival boy band, the Saja Boys, whose members are actually secretly demons. And I really enjoyed this movie. Again, throughout the entire film, like the animation is gorgeous. It's that 2.5D animation, which I really, really love. Some people are saying, I'm getting sick of it. I'm like, I'm not. I want to see more of this. I think this is great. And they take certain frames out, so it has like an interesting movement to it. Everything kind of moves, and the choreography I think is great. I really like the characters in the movie of Rumi and Zoe and Mira. They're great. They have great chemistry. They serve each other really well. You have a nice supporting cast. The Saja Boys is great. Their leader of Junie is wonderful. I really liked him a lot in the movie, and the music across the board is fantastic. Like, there's not a single bad song in this film. You might have your favorite song in the movie, but there's not a single bad song in the movie, which is great. So, yeah, at this point, it's probably one of my favorite animated films of the year, and easily my 6th favorite film of 2025 so far. Here we go, chat. We're getting to the top 5 at this point. Again, not to dismiss the previous 5. The previous 5, I highly recommend checking out. They're really fun, really good movies. But at number 5, I have Thunderbolts, chat, which is Marvel's latest film, their 36th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is directed by Jake Schreier, who is probably best known for his work on Beef. And we essentially follow this huge ensemble cast of Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, Wyatt Russell, Louis Pullman, and David Harbour, and Julie Louis-Dreyfus. And in this movie, we essentially follow this group of anti-heroes, villains, who are caught in this deadly trap, thanks to Julie Louis-Dreyfus's character, and now forced to work together on this dangerous mission. And it's too bad that this movie didn't perform very well, at least commercially, because critically it did very well. It's one of the better, I think, Marvel movies in quite some time. Certainly ones that stand out to me, because I just really like the message of this film, of these people who are essentially broken, who are incredibly flawed through and through, and the movie is dealing with the themes of depression, of feeling lost, of not having a place in this world, of being rejected. How do you deal with that void? I just think this movie does a great job of addressing all these things. It's like, yes, you do get your superhero action in this. You get some great action choreography. There's no question. But there's also a movie where the heroes just can't punch through everything. They have to work on themselves. They have to work on each other, on an emotional, psychological level. And I really appreciated that. It was different than what we often see of a lot of this kind of fare. And you have some great performances. Like Florence Pugh, I think, is great as the new Black Widow. She's done such a great job. Sebastian Stan, of course, naturally is charismatic. Obviously, is Bucky Barnes, who's gone through so much as the Winter Soldier. He's wonderful. Wyatt Russell, I think, gets more to do as John Walker, as U.S. agent, than he did in Falcon Winter Soldier. He's great. David Harbour, I'm a huge fan of. Obviously his work in Stranger Things, many other projects, but he here is the Red Guardian, the comic relief of the movie. He's very funny, but he also gets some really emotional scenes in this film, particularly with Florence Pugh. Some of the best moments in the movie happen between the two of them, where they address a lot of their issues. But the big standout for me in the movie was Louis Pullman. He's been popping up in a lot of things recently. He does a great job playing the Sentry, playing the Void, playing Bob. Just this really charming character, who is also incredibly dangerous and threatening. And what makes this, I think, his performance so great is I'm not even a big fan of the Sentry, like at all from the comics. Never cared if he's this crazy Superman. Here, they do a lot more with him. They give him a lot more depth than other than he's crazy Superman. What if Superman was? What if Superman was insane? That's essentially what the Sentry is. Here, they do so much more. And I think it's great. And they actually finally give something for Julie Louis-Dreyfus to do, who's been popping up in the MCU these past couple of years. I'm like, what are you doing with this character? What are we leading towards? It led to this, and I think she does a really good job. And so Thunderbolts, I think is great, and definitely one of the better MCU movies I've seen in the last couple of years. But I've probably since like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I really, really enjoyed. But moving on, Chad, to number 4, I have the horror film Bring Her Back, the latest supernatural horror film from Danny and Michael Filippo, who really just burst onto the filmmaking scene. People don't know they were originally YouTubers, and then they released their first theatrical film, Talk to Me, a couple years ago, which was one of my favorite horror movies, one of my favorite movies that year. I thought it was great, and they have followed up with this film. Featuring a lot of talented people, led by Sally Hawkins, who gives a fantastic performance in this movie. But essentially, the movie follows these two step siblings. One who's had like a lot of issues in their life, and the other one who is blind or is partially blind, and they're placed in the middle, essentially, of this occult ritual. By their foster mother, who is trying to bring someone back from the dead, essentially. And it is a nasty, dark horror film. I think it's much darker than Talk to Me. I kind of don't know which one I like more. The Filippo brothers just do such a great job in the execution of all from the themes, from the performances, to the visuals. There is some really graphic violence in this movie, and I can see why. I mean, it all looks great. The practical effects, the special effects, it's all very well done. It's all, for the most part, in one location, and it takes on such a life of its own. I can understand people maybe not liking this movie because so much of the violence and the graphic nature of it revolves around children, particularly one child who goes through the ringer in this movie. Holy shit! But also is really, really good. But yeah, if you like me, like if you're just like supernatural horrors has never really done it for you. I mean, there's obviously exceptions like The Exorcist, of course. But if you want something that's where the ghost or whatever the supernatural threat doesn't fuck around, something like Talk to Me, something like Bring Her Back, I think is a nice palate cleanser. This is the one I'll be like, okay, I want more like this. I think it's a nasty, dark little horror film and well worth seeing. Although, be warned, you won't feel good after watching it. You'll appreciate it, but you won't feel good inside. But that's why it's my fourth best movie of 2025 so far. And at number 3, Chad, I have what is my favorite animated movie of the year so far, and that is The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. And there was a chance we might not have been able to see this movie, Chad, because of Warner Brothers' bizarre purge of so much of their catalog and of the Looney Tunes in particular. But this movie, which is directed by Pete Braungart in his feature directorial debut, it is the first fully animated theatrically released film featuring the Looney Tunes, which also makes it so special. Like Looney Tunes, of course, have appeared in other movies, but usually it's been like a hybrid of, 2D animation, 3D animation, live action, that kind of thing, interacting with human characters. Here, you're just following Daffy Duck and Porky Pig and Petunia Pig as they're trying to save the Earth from a chewing gum-based alien invasion. And if you're a fan of like classic Looney Tunes, especially those designs, those aesthetics from the 1930s and 40s, then you need to watch this movie. This is such a love letter to those original cartoons and shorts. And I like that the film, it doesn't throw in every single Looney Tunes character out there. It doesn't throw in Bugs Bunny or Sylvester and Tweety or Wile E. Coyote. It's like, no, we're just going to focus on essentially these 3 characters. Now everyone else is either an alien or human. And I like that it was just so focused on those characters because the movie gives them depth. Like, you follow Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, who are essentially raised as brothers by Farmer Jim, who is great in the movie. And what they do with him is very, very funny. And they provide just so much emotion for the two of them. Like, they have arcs throughout this entire film. And one of the things that really stood out to me in the movie is, like, because Daffy Duck, like, his original, like, version was, like, he was the looniest of Looney Tunes. He was absolutely insane. And then later on, you know, as we got into, like, the 50s, 60s, and, you know, pretty much to modern, like, they really started to emphasize the greedy aspects of Daffy Duck, you know, his vanity and stuff. And that's here to a degree, but it's not in full force. Like, Daffy Duck, I think for the first time in, like, a long time, kind of has, like, a kind of a coming to God moment. He's like, oh, shit, I have to, like, address my behavior. You know, like, I may be in the wrong of certain things. And I need to work on myself and my relationship with my brother, Porky Pig. And I was like, oh, my God, like, I can't believe the movie's doing that. Also, it's politically incorrect. There's a ton of sexual innuendo in this movie, which is very, very funny. The animation across the board is fantastic. It also plays loving homage to a lot of, like, classic science fiction horror films, all the way from the 50s, 60s, 70s, into the 80s. I mean, referencing things like John Carpenter's The Thing, to Invasions of the Body Snatchers, to Night of the Creeps even. Like, if you're a fan of Looney Tunes, if you're a fan of sci-fi horror, this movie offers all that to you, and it's also just really funny, and it has heart. It has so much goddamn heart, and it was such a great surprise and it was wonderful just to see an American 2D movie in theaters, which is rare nowadays. We don't really get that. You know, mostly it's 3D, certainly seeing 2.5D. I mean, when you do see a 2D movie, it's usually by, like, a Studio Ghibli or a foreign animation house or something like that. So to see that was really great, and I would love to see more of these types of Looney Tunes movies in the future, either theatrically or you know, on streaming. We'll see, but highly recommend checking this movie out. It deserves to be seen. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of animation. And number 2, chat, my second favorite movie, what I consider to be the second best movie of 2025. I have Companion, which is a science fiction horror comedy directed by Drew Hancock, also written by Drew Hancock, and also produced by Zach Kreger, who's coming hot off of Barbarian a couple years ago, which is one of my favorite horror films. And essentially in this movie, you follow a small group of characters, the leads being Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid, who are a couple on a weekend getaway with friends at a remote cabin. What could go wrong? Which eventually unravels into chaos after revelation that one of the guests is actually a companion robot. Listen, I love, you know, sci-fi horror films in general, thrillers that, like, take place in one location, and you just, at that point, you have to be reliant on your writing and your characters and your dialogue. And that's what this movie, I think, does so well. It's like, yes, you have the commentary of AI and you know, and the ideas of control, of relationships, of toxic relationships. That's all there, but it never feels heavy-handed. It's all in service of the characters, all in service of the story that they're telling and the subplots. And you just have some really great charismatic performances in this movie. Sophie Thatcher has been such a revelation these past couple of years, like seeing her in Heretic last year, which I thought she was really, really good in. That was one of my favorite movies of 2024. It was in my top 10. And here she gives such a wonderful performance in this film as the you know, as the girlfriend of Jack Quaid's character. And you learn a lot more about her very quickly, you know, in the movie, as you do about Jack Quaid, who again has, I think, a lot of range. I think he's very underrated. He does a great job of playing a really scummy, despicable, abusive, mentally and psychologically, emotionally abusive boyfriend. The two of them, like, I would describe their chemistry as anti-chemistry. Like, they're great, but it's like, man, you put the two of them in a room, You're gonna get some really great dramatic stuff. I love it, and you get a really nice supporting cast in here. Particularly Harvey Gillian. He's really funny. He's one of the friends that's at the cabin in this movie. So many great scenes with him. And Lucas Gage, I think, gives one of the most underrated performances this year, and he's the boyfriend of Harvey Gillian's character in the movie. He gets a lot of great scenes. Very impressed by his performance, and I don't want to say too much because I think some of the I was thankfully not spoiled about certain things in this movie before seeing it, but there's like some big reveals that they spoil. So don't go into this movie completely blind. I don't even want to tell you too much about Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid's characters, but they're great in the movie. It's just such a wonderfully, smartly written sci-fi horror comedy with so much to fucking say. Great film. But now, my friends, we got to get to number one. You know, it's like all these movies, these 9 movies, they're all great. I really enjoyed them. I highly recommend them. I think you're going to find something really fun in all of them, but they're not as good as this one, Chad. Not as good as this one. At number 1, I have Sinners. Ryan Coogler's Sinners, of course, produced, written, directed by, and I'm sure he provided the craft services as well for Sinners. This is my favorite movie of the year so far. Ryan Coogler, in his film, it's set in 1932 during Jim Crow era Mississippi, in the Mississippi Delta. We follow Michael B. Jordan, who plays dual roles, these 2 criminal twin brothers who are returning from Chicago after, dealing with Al Capone, the criminal element there, and they're going back to their hometown in Mississippi to start again, to open up their own juke joint, to open up their own business. And in the process of that, they encounter a supernatural evil. This movie is fantastic across the board, from the inspired direction to the absolute gorgeous cinematography. The music in this movie is a character all on its own. It's incredible what they do with music throughout this entire film, how it plays a huge role in the narrative itself. And the performances across the board. Obviously, Michael B. Jordan, I think he's one of the best working actors right now. Like it's seamless, the effect that they do. Like it doesn't look like CGI, just how they shot him. They both feel like different characters. It's not like they're like one's super exaggerated compared to the other. It's like it's subtle things with them, where who Smoke is and who Stack is. That's great, but that performance is also complemented by a fantastic supporting cast of Haley Steinfeld, who of course has been great all these years. I think a lot of people, like, their first introduction to her was True Grit. Well, I'll tell you what, Chad, she's not a little girl anymore. Far from it. Like, her first lines of dialogue are like, oh my God. They're very revealing the type of character she is, but she's so great. Excellent chemistry of everyone across the board with Michael B. Jordan. Miles Caton, who makes his film debut, essentially most of the movie follows as Sammy, as Preacher Boy, who just has his natural gift as a singer, as a musician, as a guitar, is recruited by his cousins of Smoke and Stack to open up the juke joint to entertain all these people. Not only is the music that he plays and his singing voice amazing, but he gives such a great performance. Like, again, he's the heart of the film. He's literally the first character that you see in the beginning. He's the last character you see at the end. I thought he was great. Wonderful performances by Delroy Lindo, who plays this like aging alcoholic, blues player. He's great in the movie. Wunmi Masaku, who you might have seen in things like Loki recently. She's been in Loki season 1, season 2. She is this woman who kind of knows all about the supernatural stuff in this world, and she has a previous relationship with Michael B. Jordan's Smoke throughout the film. They have excellent chemistry in this. Omar Miller has one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. That, if you know me, like, one of my favorite moments in John Carpenter's The Thing is between Kurt Russell and Wilford Brimley, and Wilford Brimley is like, "I'm much better now. I want to come back inside." And he has a noose right next to him and everything. And Kurt Russell's like, "Yeah, I don't know." I don't think so. They do something like that here, and I love it. It's so great. And Jack O'Connell is excellent as the film's villain, as the supernatural evil, as the vampire that all of our characters have to confront. So charismatic, great singing voice. You know, I mean, one of the best villains, if not the best villain, in film so far this year. I loved what they did with his character, and yeah, I've seen this movie twice now. Once in theaters, once on digital, and it's a movie that even on a second viewing, like there's stuff that you miss, there's stuff that you have a greater appreciation for. It's like, oh, like it just starts to make even more and more sense. But man, I adored this film. There's so much to it. And also I like how it plays the vampire lore. You know, it emphasizes certain things, especially the idea of vampires have to be invited inside, like, which has obviously been in other movies, but maybe it's not one of the more things that's like emphasized in a lot of modern adaptations of vampires. And Ryan Coogler and his people play around with that to great effect. Some great scenes. And the last thing I'll say, the reason why this movie works so well is because the first half of the film essentially builds up these characters. You know, you find out a lot about them. You find out about their past through their interactions with each other, through some fantastic dialogue. And when we then get to that second part of the movie, and when bad things happen to them, and bad things do happen to them, then it matters more. You feel it more. Those deaths, or if they're transformed to vampires, it hits you more. I love that. And I think this film's ending, if I have a criticism, I think like they do this weird thing where they kind of have this like almost like after credits stinger, but it's like kind of split up in the credits. I would just have that be the true ending of the movie. It's a great ending to the film, which I do not want to spoil for anyone, obviously. But yeah, Sinners is the best movie to me of 2025. It's one of Ryan Coogler's best films, which Ryan Coogler, again, I don't think the man has missed. I've enjoyed all of his movies across the board, either loved or just liked them. And here, Sinners is definitely one of my favorites of his, and it's a film I highly recommend you guys check out as soon as you possibly can. But yeah, guys, that's my best movies of 2025 so far. What about you guys? What are your best films of the year so far? We're halfway through. There's been some good movies released. There's been some bad movies released. I'll get to those very soon. Don't worry about that. But yeah, do you like my list? Do you completely disagree with it? Chris, Sinners is no way it's the best movie this year. This other film that you didn't mention is the best movie. Let me know, as always.
5 minutes later.
Who else is here? Whistle Tip, welcome. You describe movies so good. I feel like I'm oh, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Yeah, the movie is on my top. Stop right now. We'll see. Sinners. Yeah, Sinners. Chicken dinner. Yeah, it's on my list somewhere. I guess the Sinners knew it. Yeah. Delroy Lindo brought the humor and never felt forced or broke the mood. It was needed to balance the rest of the movie. Yeah, no, and when there is humor, in the movie, it's done very, very well. Again, it's how Ryan Coogler manages tone. Like I never get tonal whiplash in this film, like at all. Everything just fits. Boy, if you don't get the fuck out of my face, Haley Steinfeld. Yeah, that was great. She has a lot of great lines. Let's see here. Oh, it's gonna be on Max tomorrow. Nice. Come on, invite me in. Come on, invite me in now. I mean, I was like, why can't you get your big ass in? Why can't you walk in? He's like, well, that's not the polite thing to do. That's great. That Irish jig, that damn Irish jig, pops in my head. That is so great. I love that. Rocky Road to Dublin, baby. Holy shit. Oh, the red eyes too. Yeah, this is also a sick poster. I like this poster a lot. Yeah. Which I guess Ryan Coogler, he was inspired, like the red eyes for the vampires or for Remick. He was inspired by Puss in Boots: The Last Wish by Death's Eyes. Which is like, oh yeah, it's the same effect, which is really cool. All right, let's see what you guys' top 10s are. Hamilton, all right, here's how I rank them. 10 movies I've seen in theaters so far this year. Number 10, The Kingdom Kings. Number 9, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. 8, Captain America: Brave New World. 7, Paddington, Peru. 6, Mickey 17. 5, F1. 4, Elio. 3, The Day the Earth Blew Up. 2, Thunderbolts, and 1, Sinners. There you go. Yeah, Sinners is the winner for sure. Yeah, I agree. I think it's the best one. Chris Ayers couldn't whittle it down to be a top 10. Yeah, you can. So here's everything I gave 4 stars or higher on Letterboxd. Fair enough. Life of Chuck, Friendship, Companion, The Wedding Banquet, Black Bag, Novocaine, Sinners, Final Destination, Bring Her Back, Predator, Materialists, and F1. There you go. A lot of movies. I am doing a lot of yapping. You're not wrong. I find it a fun coincidence how 2 of the top movies, Sinners and K-pop, both revolve around music. Yeah, they're great films. See your spot, Green Salutation. We live on Prosper. Good to see you. Dylan Murray, Sinners, because I spit hot fire. Space Cowboy, here's my rankings so far. At 10, I had The Day They Blew Up. 9, Thunderbolts. 8, Elio. 7, Colors Within. 6, Final Destination, Bloodlines. 5, Companion. 4, Predator Killers. 3, The Life of Chuck. 2, K-Pop Demon Hunters. And 1, Sinners. I have watched Ugly Stepsister. I did enjoy it. That's a release for this year. Ugly Stepsister is really good. I do really like that movie. I didn't do a review for it, but Katrina and I watched it, and I really dug it. I did really dig it. I think I would have that as an honorable mention. Space Cowboy, a few runner-ups include F1, Nijat 2, Novocaine, Paddington, Peru, and Black Flag. Oh, excuse me, Black Bag. Bishop says, Bring Her Back, Sinners, Companion, The Phoenician Scheme, Thunderbolts, Final Destination, Bloodlines, Killer of Killers, Black Bag, Drop, The Monkey. There's a huge gap from Companion to the rest. Gotcha. Like how 5 of 10 are anime films. Yeah. That came out this year, then it counts. So it came out this year. I'll include Michael 17, Company, and Companion. I think that's what you mean. Mikey 17. Mikey 17, or excuse me, Mickey 17. Mickey 17, Companion, and Bring Her Back on the list. Nice. Yeah, we have a lot of similarities. You know, there's some of these I didn't see. Black Bag, I didn't see Drop. I did like The Monkey. I decided just to do a top 10. I'll do honorable mentions at the end of the year. I was like, let's get to the 10. I didn't see Phoenician Scheme. Yeah. But, yeah, a lot of similarities, Shell. A lot of similarities. Some real good movies. I think you guys should check out when you have the time, when you have the opportunity. So, and yeah, on that note, I debated whether or not to have Walls of Ground on my list because it hit theaters limited in December last year, but it hit Netflix. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I don't know how to, like, rank that one. It's weird. It's very weird because technically that movie wasn't released here in the West until, or at least United States, until January 1st. And so it's like that would have easily made my list. But then it was nominated for a bunch of stuff like the Academy Awards, and so it's odd. I might just bring, you know, again, that's something to consider, I think, for the future when I do my best movies of 2025 at the end of the year. I think I'll either put it on the list or it'll be a nice honorable mention. Be like, hey, it's kind of fell in a weird this should be talked about because it is a really good movie. I had Walls of Ground on my list for last year. Did I see it by that point? I don't know if I saw it by that point. I can't recall. But it's a great film. I loved it. I loved Vengeance Most Foul. I thought it was great. And seeing Feathers McGraw come back and like the inspiration being Cape Fear. I thought that was so cool. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. So, yeah. One that I will most definitely mention. Again, when I do this. But thank you for bringing it up, though. I do appreciate that. But yeah, chat. Tomorrow I am going to be doing the worst movies of 2025 so far, which is always a fun list because I get to talk shit about these films again. And you know, I wanted to see a few movies this week to see if they would make either list, and you'll find out if they made those lists or not. You shall see.